Don't tell them. Let them figure it out themselves.
Were you trying to think of another tune?
Nah, threes. Look, that's how comedy works. Rule of threes.
I thought you were reaching. I thought you were trying to get another one.
No, I could plain tune.
Yeah.
They all work.
Boat tune?
Just vehicle tunes.
Yeah. Submarine tune.
Makes you wonder, why is it called a cartoon?
Subtune.
We had a cartoon. We had an animation special. We never asked that question. Why is it called a cartoon?
I'll text him.
There's no way for us to find out.
This week coming up. Big week for you.
Big week. We're recording a special.
Yep.
I'm coming to see. We just did a sold-out weekend in Kelowna and Vancouver. The crowds were awesome. Got me pumped. I'm ready.
No, you were just in Columbus and Pittsburgh.
Oh well, 2 weeks ago those specials. Okay, we haven't actually recorded the Columbus and Pittsburgh ones yet, but the ones in Vancouver rocked, and I'm sure Columbus and Pittsburgh will be fine. But no, the big one's coming up. We're recording the special. The set list is down. We're ready to go. Forrest is going to be there. My friend Tommy Campbell's going to be there. And look, you're going to be there if you bought a ticket. If you didn't, they're already sold out. But you'll be able to see it on Netflix.
Maybe for the 3rd, there might be some tickets.
There might be some tickets for the day before the 3rd, yeah, because we added that show on as a warm-up gig.
Yeah, go to Jim Jefferies.
But it'll be tight.
Go to jimjefferies.com, check it out. There's probably still some tickets for Las Vegas a couple weeks later.
Las Vegas still has some tickets. They always sell close to the
And
date.
there's some tickets for the Asia tour if you're in Asia.
I just did a whole Asia press tour last night.
How'd that go?
I was on Chinese speaking radio.
Yeah.
Where they were trying to speak English, and then my thick accent, I don't think a lot of information got across.
Didn't you tell me in Malaysia, they were like, last time you were in Malaysia, and you're like, I think it was in Malaysia. And
Oh, no, there was a bloke that was like this. So this is your first time coming to Malaysia? And like the first radio interview, and I said, I think I came to Malaysia on the last trip, like this, right? And he goes, and I go, because I did an Asian tour back then. He goes, no, you went everywhere but Malaysia. He goes, I'm a comedian. I follow your work. I would have known if you were here. And I was like, oh, well, I'm looking forward to coming to Malaysia, right? And then I go on the next radio show, and they go, so you're coming to Malaysia? I go, yeah, I've never been to Malaysia. I'm looking forward to it. And the radio DJ's like, you were here last time. And I was like, fuck that guy, man.
I was with you.
2 botched interviews.
Yeah.
You went Kuala Lumpur. That's where you're going.
Because I feel sorry for, there was a bit with Justin Bieber when they were doing like a police interview with him about throwing eggs or something like that. Or someone was doing a lawsuit against him. And there's a video of him going, they said, so when you were in Australia in 2012, right? Something like that. And he's like, looks up to his person, he goes, did we go to Australia?
Yeah.
Did we go to Australia? Like that, right? And they're like, yeah, he goes, I don't know, was I in Australia? Like that. And the Australians got a bit uppity about it. They were just like, well, you should remember Harbour Bridge and all that type of stuff, right? And Australia, I believe, is a fairly memorable place, but I get it, man. The cunt's going everywhere. He just leaves his hotel room, goes straight to the gig, back to the hotel room. It gets confusing.
All the venues probably look the same from the stage.
We were there for less than 24 hours, too.
Yeah.
We flew into Kuala Lumpur, and then we drove from there to Singapore in a van. We stopped at a KFC on the side of the highway.
As soon as you remind me, I remember all that because we drove through there. But everyone's always like, do you know much about what's going on in politics over here? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Are you going to be talking about Malaysia? And I said, look, I'll talk about what I did that day.
Yeah.
That's all I can offer you.
I went back there on my own and did the Crack House Comedy Club, which just recently closed, unfortunately.
Down because these fucking idiots.
The Crack House?
It was called the Crack House.
That's a great name for a comedy club.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was a great club. I did 2 nights there. It was really fun, and I actually got to see Kuala Lumpur a little bit. Unfortunately, it closed. So, but yeah. Anyways, go to jimjefferies.com and
you got any shows to advertise for us?
No, you can just go to my website, forshaw.net. I got some shows on there, but also I've got the Merman podcast I do with Dave Williamson. You can listen to that Merman podcast. But our podcast is.
You just kicked your dog.
Sorry, buddy. The ID Cat podcast on Instagram, and then our Patreon. Subscribe to that if you haven't already. We just did a really good podcast of that with lots of stuff where I didn't kick my dog. And
we did a quiz show episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
Let's
it. Right?
let's do some ads. Yeah. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Therapy Online. Unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual. So When it's not working out for you, it's normal to feel stuck. Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes the therapist the closest thing to a guide tour of the complex engine that is you. Hey, I think that made sense. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people with licensed therapists. It's convenient, secure, and accessible anywhere, 100% online. I myself do use this actual app myself, this webpage. I go to therapy. Sometimes when I'm on the road and I need a therapist, I find doing it online a lot better for me. It helps me free up my head. Look, everyone deserves to feel their best. BetterHelp makes it easier for you to get started. As the world's largest therapy service, they've matched millions of people and professionally who are professionally licensed and vetted therapists, available 100% online. All the benefits of in-person therapy, plus it's more convenient, more accessible, and more affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match up with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be more simple. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Get unstuck with BetterHelp. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/IDK. That's betterhelp.com/IDK. Green Chef is a CCOF certified meal kit company. Green Chef makes eating well easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. Green Chef offers a range of recipes to suit your preferences. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well, with dinners that work for you, not for the other way around. Green Chef has options for every lifestyle. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Keto, keto, paleo, vegetarian, vegan, fast and fit Mediterranean, and gluten-free. That's for all you people out there. They're offering more customization than ever before with 3 new flavorful protein choices on the menu. Swap the protein in any meal that features chicken, beef, or salmon for USDA certified organic ground beef, USD certified organic chicken, and wild caught sockeye salmon. Sockeye, maybe. Jack just looked at me. For those on the go, Green Chef has 10-minute lunches. Each week's menu includes 2 convenient, low-prepped, and nutritious lunch recipes ready for you in just 10 minutes. No cooking required. Perfect for when you're on the go or pressed for time at the office. Eat well at lunchtime too. I've been getting Green Chef for about a year now, and I haven't had a meal I didn't like yet. If you want to eat healthy without sacrificing taste, give Green Chef a try. Go to greenchef.com/I-don't-know-599. I wonder what that might mean. Use the code I-don't-know-599 to get $5.99 per meal in one box, and your first box ships free. You're eating for under $6, man. Go to greenchef.com/I-don't-know-599 and use the code I-don't-know-599 to get $5.99 per meal on your first box, and your first box ships free. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. When you ever think about this, of traditional daily fantasy sports, you're probably thinking of drafting, lineups, managing salary caps, and competing against thousands of other players, including sharks, all for the slim chance to win a small piece of the pie. On Prize Picks, it's a lot easier. It's just you against the numbers, just you against the numbers. Members pick more or less on between 2 or 5 players' statistics of their choice. The more picks they correctly choose, the more money they win. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you want. This includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, and so many more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks apps or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time receivers receive a 100% instant deposit matched up to $100 with promo code IDK. So how that works, if you deposit 100, PrizePicks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, PrizePicks will give you 50. Don't forget to enter the promo code IDK at sign up for instant deposit match up to $100. Free money. We haven't had them on the podcast for a while. It's good to have them back. I've been using the product non-stop. I use it every day. When you see me on my next special and my stubbly faced hair, I use that on the Manscaped on me face. So I use it downstairs and I use it on me face. This holiday season, I'll be giving thanks to our friends at Manscaped. Everyone loves turkey and stuffing, but you'll be looking like dessert with the help of Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0. The leaders in the below-the-waist grooming have blessed you with the ultimate hygiene bundle and, dare I say, a Thanksgiving dinner topic. Tell your in-laws about how your new cutting-edge ball trimmer, tell them about your ball trimmer, and gift yourself or the man in your life the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Trim your pumpkins and join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. With 20% off and free shipping with the code IDK at manscaped.com. Look, you think your holiday spread's good? It's time to give thanks to Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0, or as I like to call it, the perfect package for your package. Inside, you'll find their lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the weed whacker, ear and nose trimmer. You need one. You don't think you need one until you have one, and then you go, oh, I needed one of them for a while. Crop preserver ball deodorant. I don't even know what that might be, but I have a guess. Crop receiver toner, performance. Huh?
Crop reviver toner.
Oh, crop reviver toner. Performer, boxer briefs, and travel bag to hold all your goodies. Think of this as a cornucopia for your balls. Is that the right word? Cornucopia, yeah. Cornucopia for your balls. But I'm going to, you know what I'm doing after this? What? I'm going to Google what that word means. Their lawnmower 4.0 trimmer works because it has features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for more precise shave. Plus, it's waterproof. The Performance Package 4.0 includes the Weed Whacker to chop the worst weeds on top and on your nose and on your ears. Your nose and ear trimmers use a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system to provide proprietary skin-safe technology with help prevents nicks, snags, and tugs. Look, I use it. It works. Just buy it. Let them worry about the technology, but I can't forget the Manscaped liquid formulations, the crop preserver, ball deodorant, and crop reviver. Toner sprayer are like the pumpkin pie and ice cream after Thanksgiving. Can't live without it. Your balls will be living in turkey heaven with these formulations. As if it wasn't enough, it's time to do the dishes with Manscaped's shower products. Lather some Manscaped refined body wash on their brand new signature body buffer and give yourself the lather and rinse your body deserves. Lose the loafer and exfoliate your mates. No hygiene routine is complete without Manscaped's signature deodorant as well. A couple of swipes of this and you'll be feeling, ooh, so crisp. Gifting Manscaped is the ultimate home hack to become a family favorite. All right, I haven't read this much since high school. Get 20% off Free shipping with the code IDK at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code IDK at manscaped.com. Be thankful this holiday season for the best gift of them all, Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. All right. Woo!
Please welcome our guests, Ricky Cervantes and Ryan Dick.
G'day, Ricky and Ryan. Now it's time to play.
Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Judging a book by its cover.
Clunk. All right. Look, I don't mean to, judge, but I'm going to assume you guys aren't doctors. We have a lot of doctors and professors, and I'm only saying that because of the Charm T-shirt. So, are you doctors?
No, sir.
No,
sir.
So we're not talking about anything medical today.
I mean, there's some science involved.
Oh, are we talking about something science fiction then?
No,
Ah,
it's real.
It's a real thing.
It's
Okay.
real. You've been part of it.
Are we talking about life?
Yeah, it's been a part of your life.
I don't know if I've
Big
really,
part of life.
I don't know if I've really been part of that.
It's been a part of your life, but not recently.
Is it condoms?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say hemorrhoids, but that's not
No,
part of your life.
that's still they're everlasting. I have hemorrhoids that are older than me. Okay, so science, and it's part of my life. Does it involve engineering?
There's some
Yeah,
engineering
little bit.
involved.
All right,
A little bit.
Machines,
There's some
Yeah,
big
little-
machines.
little bit.
big machines. All right, big machines.
There's some little ones in there too.
And little ones too.
We did mining uranium the other day, or nuclear power, but uranium was in it.
That's
so
a tough act to follow.
It's not nuclear power.
It wasn't nuclear power. Well, I haven't
I'll
been.
go, but I will give
I
you.
haven't
I
been
will,
involved in nuclear power.
I will give you a hint because the final hint I gave you for nuclear power was Homer Simpson, and Homer Simpson.
yeah.
Homer Simpson's another good hint for this.
Animation.
No, we did
We
that
did
already.
animation.
No, but it's something Homer Simpson is known for as well.
Donuts.
Yeah, close.
What's Duff?
Close.
What's deaf?
Duff.
What does Homer Simpson
beer,
like?
beer.
Yes, there you go.
Yes, beer. Okay.
Beer
Yeah.
brewing. That's what we're gonna be talking
All right.
about.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't drink beer. I drink non-alcoholic beer.
You've drank a lot of beer.
I've drank a lot of beer.
Yeah.
But I part of the reason that I became such a bad alcoholic and started blacking out all the time was because of beer, because it was so fattening. If beer wasn't so fattening and I didn't go, I'll move over to vodka for health reasons. it was
stay slim.
all I really wanted to do was drink beer and Guinness, and
Yeah.
that's all I really ever wanted. And then I'm getting too fat. Better for my career, I better drink vodka.
Ryan Dick was born in Atlanta, currently lives in Anaheim, and for 16 years he has worked at world-renowned breweries such as the Brewery. It's spelled differently. That's why I was trying to say it differently. Buerry. Modern Times and Radiant Beer Company, which led him to Everywhere, a boutique and community-powered fermentorium that he opened with 4 colleagues and comrades mere weeks ago. So when this comes out, maybe like about a month or so ago, in the city of Orange, California. You can find info on Everywhere at everywherebeer.com and on Instagram at everywherebeerco.
Now,
I'm not done because I got to tell
sorry.
you about Ricky, too.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
too. Okay.
And Ricky Cervantes, born in Los Angeles, California, and raised in the Chicago suburbs. I guess that's how you know Kelly.
Yeah, we went to high school together. Well, not at the same time.
Okay. Started brewing beer in 2014, and in the early days, he spent all of, what is PTO?
Paid
Time off.
Oh, see, that's what
work.
happens when you're a comedian. You know how to, at the time, shadowing brewers in the Chicagoland area and soaking up information like a sponge, and on weekends brewing his own batches of beer and building a following in the process before taking the plunge and going pro 6 years later in 2020. Foreign Exchange Brewing Company has been supplying the Chicagoland area's thirsty beer fans for the past 2 years, with plans to open a production facility and taproom in the coming year. Foreign Exchange can be found online at foreignexchangebrewing.com and on Instagram at Foreign Exchange Brewing.
I haven't tried Ryan's beer, but I tried Ricky's beer last time I was home because my brother had some of it, and whew, delicious. Good work,
Oh, it's so
Ricky.
sick.
Good work, Ricky.
Thank you.
Oof, I liked it a
he is
lot.
He's a professional in every sense of the word.
I didn't read all of your. You sent us a lot of stuff with your bio. If there's other stuff you want us to tell us about how you got into beer, and there was something else in there about like not getting back to people's texts that you wanted me to say, but I don't know if Ryan, if you wanted.
Oh, honestly, I was going to say if you'll give me a second, for everybody watching that knows me, yeah, I just want to thank you for still being my friend because I haven't fucking texted or called any of you back. I've been opening the brewery, so thank you. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that how you lose friends? I've lost.
Then you open the brewery and they all come back in for beer. So.
Yeah, I got to open a brewery to get them all back. It's funny. What was it? PTO, paid time off.
Paid time off. Yeah.
I've gotten really into this show on Netflix called The Mole, where it's like one of those game shows, and one person's trying to sabotage. You have to figure out who it is and whatever. And there's a girl in it whose name's Joy, and it's JOI, right? Now I know you're not as into porn as me, but JOI, that's not how you. That's jerk off instructions. And so I thought everyone knew this, so I've been calling it jerk off instructions, and my wife was like, "Why do you keep doing that?"
I didn't know it. See, you guys. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you need abbreviations in porn so you can get through there quickly.
Yeah.
There's no time for typing. You put ATM, you can't write aftermath.
DTF,
It's too much work.
Yeah, exactly.
So now I need to know, what porn abbreviation did you think PTO was?
Oh, I didn't know what PTO was. I was waiting along with Forrest. I paid time off. I've never had paid time
Pussy
off.
time oral.
I've never had.
trans
I've
off.
never not done a gig and then someone's gone, "Yeah, we'll pay you this week anyway." It's like I always like people go, "Oh, the holidays are coming."
Yeah, I at one point had a job where there would have been paid time off, but it's so long ago I don't remember. So PTO, that's yeah.
My last job before I changed careers, I had unlimited paid time off. And
What? Then why aren't you still
Wow.
taking it?
Well, so when a company offers unlimited paid time off, what that really means is you definitely shouldn't take it. They'll look down on you if you do. But so nobody else that I worked with took time off. But that year I went out of the country 3 or 4 times because I was like, fuck this. So yeah.
Okay. Good work ethic.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So I'm going to ask Jim a series of questions about beer brewing.
Yeah, I don't know as much as you think. I was more, I was
drinking,
more
you know.
a consumer.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. And then Ricky and Ryan, you're going to grade Jim on his accuracy of his answers after this 0 through 10, 10's being the best. Kelly's going to grade him on confidence. I'm going to grade him on et cetera. We'll add those scores together. 0 through 10, Bud Light. 11 through 20, Bud Medium. 21 through 30, Bud Heavy.
What, Bud Light's your best?
No, that's your worst.
Oh, okay, that's
your
better.
worst.
Bud Heavy's your best.
Okay.
You ever had Bud Heavy?
No,
It's really good.
Ah, man. You got to try it.
I can't. I'm an alcoholic.
It's not a real beer.
All right. Then I'll give it a go.
How is beer brewed?
Fuck me. The time I tried to do it in a bathtub.
You tried to do it?
When I was about 18, when you're 18 and you and your mates, you just finished school and you're endeavouring into manhood and you're like, we'll make our own beer.
Yeah.
Which always sounds like a good idea. And you go down to that beer shop and they give you like a tube and a funnel and a plastic container like you're out of Breaking Bad and wish you luck. But no, I don't think I ever got to the next stage of actually making it.
Okay.
But it's barley and wheat and water and it's fermented over time and all that type of stuff.
Okay. That's all that goes into it. Barley, wheat, water, fermented.
I want to say yeast.
Yeast.
Yeah, but
Anything
I
else?
feel like I've just done bread then.
Yeah. Salt.
I think I've just made bread.
Yeah, okay. Beers are broken into 2 basic types. What are they?
For me personally, my 2 types of beers are lagers and stouts.
Okay.
But then,
My man.
I've also worked in pubs in England where I've pulled, IPAs and stuff like that, like actual pulled beers, not aerated or anything like that. So there's a lot of different types of beers. But I like just a standard lager or a Guinness.
What does a, quote, smash beer stand for?
A smash beer.
Like SMASH.
Well, it would have something to do with
Another acronym.
No,
There
it
we
would
go.
have something to do.
An acronym, right?
Yeah.
It's an acronym.
Oh, it's an acronym.
Yeah.
I was about
Think
to
of
go.
porn.
I was about to go like with alcohol. There's always a mash and a thing.
No,
Okay.
SMASH. It stands for something.
SMASH. Small amount of shitholes.
Yeah, you got it. What qualifies something as a craft beer? Blueberries.
I think that craft beers normally have to come from smaller distilleries, or breweries for beers. But you can still have a big brand that will bring out one of their craft ones. So this is someone throws a slice of lemon in the top of it, or a slice of orange.
Yeah, got it. What does IPA stand for? You had an IPA, right?
I've had many IPAs, but
Yeah.
I always go back to the old one. I don't know. I used to have a joke many years ago that beer was my wife. I always used to go like, beer's my wife. I've met it in high school. I take it to parties with me. I'm not embarrassed about it being around my friends. And
fucked the bottle once.
beer's my wife, and drugs are the dirty bitches you see on the side. They're cocaine and whatnot. They're more fun, but you don't trust them, and you always go back to beer.
I remember that.
Yeah. I can't say it now. I'm actually married.
The IPA story is actually one of Ricky's favorite stories to tell, so we'll have to get back on that one later. We'll have to bookmark that one for you, Rick.
What is malt liquor? You ever had malt liquor?
I thought malt was something you put in whiskey.
Oh, I don't know if that's an American. I've had a lot of malt liquor. When I was a kid, that was like what we started drinking.
I thought that was a whiskey thing.
No.
You can have a malt whiskey.
We're talking about beer.
No,
so malt liquor.
I don't know.
Okay. What are, quote, noble hops?
It's where you get one leg up and you jump around the room and you go, me lady.
Yeah, you got it. What are the function of hops?
Oh, to get a short distance in a small. No, the hops make it give it body.
Buddy.
It's a good thing to say
What-
about alcohol.
What is double dry hopping and what effect does it have on beer?
Double dry hopping, and what effect does it have on beer? I would believe it's when you dry the hops once and then you think, It's like when you get double fried fries.
Yeah.
They're a bit crispier.
Yeah.
Makes the beer sharper and drier.
Okay. Or like when you think your clothes are dry, but they're not.
Yeah, a dry
Then you
beer.
touch the top of your jeans and you're like, yeah, it's not dry.
Still, Tooheys Dry is my drink of choice. Australian beer, Tooheys Dry or Heineken is my two beers.
Here's one. What is the name of the foam on top of fermenting beer? Not on fermenting beer. Not when you pour it.
Fermenting beer. Sludge is too easy a name. Foam, I'll say the yield. I know it's not right, but it's always a good word to say around things.
How do you darken a beer during the brewing process?
You double fry the hops.
Oh, yeah. How many breweries are in the United States?
Oh, fucking 500.
Yeah. How many gallons in one barrel of beer?
Not a keg, a barrel.
I don't know. I mean, a barrel. Yeah, a barrel. I guess that's what you're brewing in it is a barrel.
Do the counting.
Yeah.
Like you're talking like a wooden barrel.
Yeah, because the next question has a keg in it. So yeah, this is a barrel.
22 gallons.
And then how many pours do you get from a slim pony keg?
We're doing pints, middies, schooners. What are we doing? I know my measurements on beers very well. Half pints, middies, schooners,
Let's do pints.
pots. We're doing pints.
Pints are pretty
Yeah,
universal.
pints. Yeah, pints are the measurement of choice.
The schooner is very Australian, I believe.
Yeah, I'm going to say 52 schooners.
Okay. Pints? 52
Oh,
pints?
52 pints. Yeah.
Okay. What is the most common style of beer brewed by the big breweries?
Lagers.
Okay. What is the oldest operating brewing company in the United States?
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yeah. I think it's, maybe I know that. I don't know any of these, but I think I know that one maybe.
I saw one of the food that made America type of thing, and I know that was one of the originals. I don't know if it's the original. I think it beats Budweiser, and I believe it beats Coors.
You know what I think it is? I think it's that one Yingling, which is like, sounds like it's not even from there. But it's
One
from
Yingling?
I don't know. It seems like it's old.
Yeah, it does not sound like it's here. It's better if you say two Ling
No,
Ling.
that's in Pennsylvania, I'm pretty sure. All right, can you describe a phenolic, phenolic, taste in a finished beer? Phenolic.
It's something. It covers the tip of the tongue, and the side bits of the tongue on the palate aren't as tenderized as the tip.
Good, yeah. Yeast can survive and continue to ferment in environments
Yeast.
as high as 15% alcohol by volume. True or false?
True.
Okay. Trappist beers must be brewed on the grounds of what? If you listen to rap music, you'd have a funny joke for this. But
What?
you don't.
Yeah.
Trappist beers must be brewed on the grounds of what? Yeah.
Harlem.
Yeah.
I don't know because you said a rap thing.
Yeah, I know, but Harlem would not be. Which is the oldest beer brewery in the world that has been continuously operating in the world?
Continuously operating. I know Stella is remarkably old beer company. Very, very old. Guinness is old. Kronenberg is a very old beer. Kronenberg's 1876. And Stella, I would say Stella Artois.
What about Yingling?
Stella Artois.
Okay. A beer brewed with more honey than grain is called what?
Oh, more honey than grain.
Yeah.
A beer brewed with more honey than grain is called a what? How much more honey? Is it like 80% honey?
Just more.
I didn't know any honey was involved.
51% or more.
There you
51.
go.
That's a shitload of honey.
No, 51%. 51% more or
Or
honey.
Or more.
So
Or
it
more.
could just be 1% more honey than grain.
Oh,
Right.
No, if
it's a
All right.
It's a Winnie the Pooh.
Okay. He doesn't know the answer anyway. You guys. Generally speaking, a session beer needs to be low in what? A session beer.
Has to be low in alcohol.
Okay. In the brewing process, the fermentation step turns sugar into alcohol and what else?
Oh, sugar goes in the ingredients. Put that into one of my ingredients.
Okay.
Barley, wheat, sugar, yeast, water.
In the brewing process, the fermentation step turns sugar into alcohol
Mm-hmm.
and what else? Fermentation turns sugar into alcohol, and then it turns into something else as well.
It has nothing to do with the aeration. It has nothing to do.
Gold.
It turns it into the yellow color.
Got it. Couple more questions. Generally, which ingredient is malted at the beginning of the brewing process? Generally.
Barley.
And what is the final step in beer production?
Putting it into bottles.
Yeah,
You tell me I'm fucking wrong, man.
probably.
You should have asked what the second last one was.
Wouldn't it be the cap or the label?
Oh, yeah, okay. No,
Or
the
the
label's
label.
already on.
Label's on?
The label's already on. I've seen those machines.
What about putting it in the box?
No. The production's done then because you can drink it off the conveyor belt then. So I'd say the cap.
Yeah, seen Laverne and Shirley. Yep. What brewery is credited as starting the bourbon barrel aging trend?
The bourbon barrel aging trend. So bourbon is an American type of whiskey. So I'm going to say it's an American brand, and I'm going to say that that's Budweiser.
Budweiser. What causes skunked beer?
Aeration and the yeast going bad, and not sealing something up, so you get a poor odor. Like if you leave like your ball sack too long and it gets all sweaty, and you get and then you get thrush, and it goes from more than being just a bit of sweat to now it's a medical issue.
Skunked balls. Yeah.
Skunk balls.
Okay. What is, I don't know how to pronounce this word. G-E-U, geese? Goose?
G-U-E.
Goose? Goose? Goose. What is goose? Where does it come from? G-E-U-Z-E.
Goose sounds to me to be French or German. It'd probably be German. The Germans
talking
are
about
very
beer.
big into
Yeah.
beer.
What is goose?
Goose
Goose.
is who you talk to when you're drunk.
Let's
Let's go talk to those goose over there.
Yeah, it's gender fluid. Where does it come from? Like the word? It's German, you think?
I'd say German, yeah.
Okay. Lager, last question. Lager comes from a German word meaning what? Lager.
Lager. Well, it's a pale light beer in texture. So I'm going to say from the German word for light.
Okay. All right, Ricky and Brian. How did Jim do on his knowledge of beers? 0 through 10. 10's the best. Beer brewing. Yeah.
Hit it, Ricky.
Overall, are you talking about the overall or
Yeah.
Overall, not good. I know. I didn't do
overall,
well.
yeah. I don't know.
overall?
You're not gonna
I would
upset
put
me.
it. I would put it at like a Bud Light Next, which is about a 3.5
Wow.
out of 10.
Boom.
What's a Bud Light next?
It's like a low calorie Bud Light, but it's not completely water like Bud Light.
I didn't remember that
Well,
one.
this is the thing. So in America, in Australia, a light beer means a half alcohol beer, so you'll have like 0.2%. And so, like guys like my dad who are old, who still want to drink beer every day, but they don't want to get hammered, they drink light beers, right? Now, light beers in America, of course, we know means low carb, and it's for
Low calorie, low carb.
Yeah, low calorie, low carb. No one told me this when I came to America. So I was going down to the Improv to do my sets. I've been here for about a week. I was meeting everyone like that. And I was just drinking what I thought were low alcohol beers. I was having like 6 light beers and then getting back in my car like, I'm a responsible person.
Yeah.
Took a long time. And you guys don't do the half alcohol things, not in a big way. Like if you're in Australia, you'll see a 4X and a 4X light and a thing and a light, and it will just be the half alcohol ones. So there you go.
3.5. All right. How do you do in confidence?
Ryan's got a.
Oh.
Should we give Ryan a score too? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you guys were doing. I'm sorry.
I
my
think
bad.
they were in agreement.
Well, we can. Yeah, Ryan. We'll average them out.
All right, Jim, I'm going to tell you a little story. When I was in middle school and I really just didn't want to fucking do anything, I would just write whatever I wanted on some of the test answers, and I would try to make my teacher laugh. And more often than not, I would end up passing the class, and the teacher would end up giving me full credit just for being silly.
Yeah.
So if I could, I would give you Bud Platinum. I would give you 31.
All right, thanks, man.
Wow.
Most of the answers were actually really on point, and even when they were off, they were relatively close. I want to give you a 9.
Whoa.
Seriously. Yeah, even when they were off, they were great, man. I'm sitting over here
That's
grinning.
a 12.5
grinning like an idiot.
out of 20. That's a 6.25.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
What the
Yeah.
fuck's Bud Platinum? I don't know any of these beers.
Budweiser has so many.
Yeah,
versions.
he said 31. 31. It's
I
going to
know, but
knock you on your
I
ass.
just don't know
Bud
these beers.
Platinum.
Bud Platinum is like a high alcohol version of Budweiser.
Nice.
Oh, I didn't know platinum was high alcohol. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him a 5 on confidence.
It's funny. There's always like a flashy name for whatever beer the homeless drink. Right,
Miller High Life.
So yeah, Miller High Life is a big one.
King
Yeah.
Cobra.
Yeah, and
Steel
the one in
Reserve.
Britain is Carlsberg Special,
Yeah.
and it's got like a really ornate type of label to it. It's like a light
Got, like,
yellow,
crowns on it.
and that's the homeless beer of choice. I think it's like 50 cents cheaper at the 7-Eleven than the other ones. Carlsberg.
Well, malt liquor. I mean, I don't know. When I was not of age, we would drink malt liquor, and I feel like that would be a
to
choice
this
of the home.
day, I can't really drink cider because we used to get these big bottles of Strongbow. And I used to just, like, before we went into the underage bar, I used to sit in the park and, like medicine, just fucking knock yourself out, man.
All right, I'll give you 100, et cetera.
All right.
All right.
But heavy.
Yeah. So how is beer brewed? Not in a bathtub, I'm assuming. All right, guys?
I mean, it can be if you clean your bathtub really well. Otherwise,
In
you're gonna have
prison,
a
you
bad
can
time.
do it in a toilet, man.
Yeah.
Right.
No, actually, Jim, you kind of nailed it. You said barley, wheat, water fermented over time with yeast. I mean, beer is commonly referred to as liquid bread. So you kind of were pretty spot on by calling it bread.
That was the thing I remember, like, when I went to Oktoberfest when I was 21, and we were there, and we went into all the different halls and heard the music and drank big, steins of lager and that type of stuff. And there was like a German tour guide who was meant to take us around all the halls, but his tour lasted till the first hall. And it was just like, no, there's some girls here. Don't need to see the other ones, right? So we're just drinking these. But I remember that one thing. He goes, here in Germany, beer is also seen as a food item. Each beer is regarded as 4 slices of bread, so it is more considered a meal here in Germany than a drink, right?
Yeah.
That was the first thing he started with, and I remember thinking, you cunts fucking having 4 slices of bread for dinner. Because I'm about to have 6 of these. It's like, I don't know why I'm so full. All I had was a loaf of bread for dinner.
Aren't there hops in there too?
Yes, there are hops. That is the one ingredient that Jim missed on that one.
There was what is that one for the New Zealand beer, Steinlager? That's like their national thing, and they always go on the hops are green. That's a big deal.
I don't even know what hops are.
Like a little, Yeah,
Go
you
ahead,
explain.
Brian.
No, you explain.
Yeah, please.
Turns out I'm not the expert.
No, would love to. So yeah, hops and cannabis are sister plants. In America, most of ours we get from Pacific Northwest. New Zealand, in my opinion, has like the most beautiful hops. They're very similar to like a New Zealand white wine. So you'll get much more grassy, floral, bitter, but in America, it's, right now everybody wants very just tropical fruit adjacent, juice bomb style hops. But yeah, hops come from the ground, grow in vines. They are processed and more often than not pelletized, just for better use of consumption, added on the hot side of beer. And while we're talking about it, there is an addition you can do on the cold side. Double dry hopping you can do with either one of those. The term, it's not really my favorite. I don't really know how Ricky feels about it, but double dry hopping, it sure makes it sound like a lot, right? If you use 1 pound of something and you double it 2, that's really not that much. But if you use 3 and you double it, that's 6. So there's so many variables in the term double dry hopping. But what that typically means is you are doubling down on your addition when you are recirculating the beer to get that huge burst of whatever flavor you're looking for.
I was close to saying 2 times hops.
Yeah.
So
But I went with the fries analogy.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good
So
answer.
the hops is that like where the most of the flavor comes from, and then
So yeah,
can
can be, yeah. And typically in stout, like we were talking about before, stout is a very malt-driven style of beer. Red ale, brown ale, but IPA, obviously, it's very, very, very much about the hops. And so historically, hops were used for a preservative. Not just for a bittering agent, but as a preservative. Perfect time to tell your story, dude. You should just go for it. It's the best dinner story.
There's like a common joke, like, to bore somebody, if you're at like a dinner or in a conversation, and you say that, like, hops were created to essentially make IPAs last the trip on a ship from England to India or India to England or what have you, to last that extended time, like Ryan said, as a preservative. One of the things that Ryan didn't mention is that hops are actually a flower. So that actually is what a hop actually is. It is a flower that grows on a vine that has very aromatic properties and also has antimicrobial properties, which is what makes it a preservative.
Okay, so whenever we do these podcasts, about food, I always think, who was the first cunt to go, and I'll get that flour off a vine and I'll throw it in with some bread mix and I'll hope for the best, because it feels like that was a fairly early on invention. So I know we're going to talk about the original breweries and stuff, but where do we think the origins and the first beer was made?
Yeah, we can go out of order. You can answer any question you want.
Is
Yeah.
that
I would
already one of the
honestly
questions?
guess
No,
probably made by mistake. Probably people trying to store grains. The grains get wet overnight. There's so much natural yeast and bacteria in the air that I would imagine that the first beers were actually made by mistake, and then it's people trying to recreate this accidental science.
Everything's mistake. We did an episode on cheese way back, and we found out that cheese was invented because someone poured milk into a sheep's gut to carry it somewhere as a bag, and then it came out in clumps because they'd walked and it sloshed around a bit.
Beer is pretty much as old as human history.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about preserving it too. The English, we just did bread, and they said that one of the facts they gave us was that Vaseline was invented because they would toast the bread in order to preserve it. Like basically, and it was so hard you couldn't eat it. And Vaseline was invented so that they could choke it down when they had to travel to the desert. They put Vaseline on. I was like, delicious. I was like,
And
delicious.
Nutella is just Vaseline with crushed up hazelnut. That's how they did
The
it.
more you know.
no, that's not true. That last part. Yeah. All right. Beers are broken into 2 basic types. What are they? Jim said lagers and stouts.
That's my 2 favorite types personally. However, the correct answer is lagers and ales.
Ales is the bloody word. Now, when they make a Guinness, because I think Guinness is God's drink, I love Guinness. That's what I miss more than anything. And I didn't used to have a lot of them because they always feel heavy, although I know they're a lower calorie beer than lagers, and it's sort of a misnomer that they're going to be heavy. What is the different ingredient that goes into that, or is it just a different cooking method? What's different?
That kind of actually ties into, there was another question further down the line. This is, how do you darken a beer during the brewing process?
Right.
And that comes down to roasted barley. So the same barley that you would use to make, or a similar barley that you would use to make a lager, for example, you then put that into a kiln and you roast it until it gets to varying degrees of darkness. And that also then brings out like some of those chocolate flavors that you get in the Guinness and other stouts. But yeah, it's just a matter of adding roasted grains, roasted barleys.
How do they make it so creamy? Because you have other creamy type of heads on beers, like a John Smith, which is sort of a hybrid between the two, or So why does it do bubble up so long? Like it takes so long in those Guinness commercials where you just watch it. That's like fucking beer
and
porn.
like the correct pour is like you do halfway and
you
then
do
wait
halfway and then you wait.
Again.
It's nitrogen, right? There's nitrogen in there or something? Right.
And when I was in Ireland with you, it was better.
Yeah, it's better. It doesn't travel. I don't know if there's a thing. It doesn't travel or it's got to do with the water. There is an urban myth, and I don't know if this is right, but I pray it's correct. But there's an urban myth about Guinness that I've been told by the Irish, and I even got told this myth on the Guinness tour and all that sort of stuff. That what happened was they were using the water in Dublin, where the brewery's right in the city. It's like you can go there. There's a restaurant at the top. It's lovely. So they get the water from the river going through the middle of Dublin, and then they drain the river because it was filled with fucking dead rats and all this type of bullshit from whatever hundreds of years or whatever. It was just filled with dead rats at the bottom of the thing. So they gut the thing. This is like 100 years ago. Clean it up, get all the rats out like that. Then everyone was like, it doesn't taste as good. So they dumped some meat back into the river.
Needs more rats.
I hope that's true.
I don't think that's true.
It's an urban myth.
You think they just suck the water up and don't filter it before they use it for the beer?
I don't think 100 years ago they had great fucking rap scraping machines. I reckon they just got 50% of them with guys who could hold their breath with a bag. Like, I don't think this was a special big machine.
Maybe. I don't even know what the difference between a lager and an ale and a stout is. I don't know anything about beer. Whenever I've drank a lot of beer, but whenever I go to a place and they're like, "What do you like?" I'm always like lager. But I don't even know what that is. I know it's a lager.
Like it's just your standard.
I know, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah, maybe you guys could give us a little basic difference between the few of them.
So a lot of it comes down to do with not only the yeast that's used. There are lager yeast and then there's ale yeast, which ferment in different ways. But on top of that too, how it's actually brewed and cellared is plays a part in what makes an ale, and a lager. So lagers are usually fermented at lower temperatures, and then they're fermented for longer or cellared for longer. And what that does is that allows them to kind of mellow out and become, clean, easy, crisp drinking. Whereas an ale could take, you could ferment a little bit warmer. And what that does is that'll also ferment it quicker. And obviously it has a lot of malt character to where any kind of like imperfections would be kind of buried in that additional flavor. Whereas a lager is got really nothing to hide behind. So therefore it has to be done perfectly. Anything I missed, Ryan?
I would honestly skip ahead. So we had one of the questions, like lager is a German word meaning what? Lager means like store, like warehouse, storeroom. So lager beer was lager beer that was typically aged over the winter months, and so you have it readily available. A May Bock is a Bock beer that has been aged through the winter, until May. It's ready to go in the spring. But yeah, lager beer, it's really about a longer sitting time. If you guys have heard of Kolsch is essentially a lager made as an ale. It tastes very similar, but it's a much faster turn time. So you're able to get that beer released. Our brewery had just released a Kolsch, for example, just because we had opened so recently. We can't be holding up a tank for 10 weeks to have a true traditional Pilsner style beer. So we did a Kolsch. It's a quicker flip, and it's actually priced a little bit lower accordingly. Less ingredients, faster turn time, and so because we're able to turn it over faster, there's really no reason that we would charge the same amount as we would for a stout or an IPA.
I thought Grolsch was a brand. Grolsch Lager.
Not Grolsch. Kolsch.
Kolsch.
Kolschch. Yeah.
Right.
Grolsch, the swing top.
Yeah. People
classic.
love those bottles. Yeah, that's a winner.
Those are They're great. Yeah, no, those are great. But I mean, also like while we're talking about stout, I mean, ale is very often in the proper term for all of these beers. So even though we say stout, that's very normal nomenclature. It's actually stout ale. India Pale Ale. We shorten everything. So we say stout, we say IPA, but there is ale always really tacked on to the end of most of these styles.
I knew that India Pale Ale. I knew that. I knew that.
So yeah, easy to remember. Red ale, brown ale, India Pale Ale, stout ale.
Now, you know how the rest of the world thinks about American generic beers, your Budweisers, your Coors, and that type of stuff. Do you subscribe, because you're craft beerman? Do you subscribe that the American beers are a bit crap? Or I personally think they're okay. I've never had a problem with them or anything. But whenever I see Australian friends, they're always like, "Oh, how do you drink that fucking shit over there?" Fucking like that. Do you think they get a bad rap?
Time and a place.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think the problem that craft beer is facing is that the American beers are meant to be consumed in bulk. You're walking out of the store with 30 packs, but you walk out of a brewery with a 4-pack, and the 4-pack of craft Pilsner is typically $12 to $16, but for $16 you can get 30 beers, So if I'm going to the river and I'm going to lay in the river all fucking day, I don't necessarily want to go and load up on craft beer. It's going to be higher alcohol, more expensive.
Yeah, you're not going to play beer pong with a craft beer.
Crush a bunch of Tecatis.
That'd be brutal. I've actually played wine pong before.
That's good. It's like when you go into bottle shops and they have the little symbols underneath.
Yeah.
Do they do that here? They do it in Australia. So you'll see, and then they'll have like a symbol of a fish, and then there'll be a symbol of a steak, and all the things that you should have this alcohol with.
Yeah.
It'd be nice under the beer, just a beer pong.
A red Solo cup.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That is funny though. They're like, "Do you like that IPA?" They're like, "What are you talking?"
But like piggybacking off of what Ryan just said, though, that being said, I do have Miller High Life in my fridge downstairs. So I am not above
He's homeless.
drinking some of these.
I drank Heinekens for the last 10 years of me drinking. I used to always have fond memories of going to Holland and they get the knife and they cut the heads off and all that type of stuff to keep it crisp.
I roofed for a summer in Florida, for 4 months. And when you were done roofing in Florida, we'd always go and have some beers. And there was never a time where we wanted like a dense beer. We were like, give me a Coors Light.
I'm not drinking.
If you go to England, to this day, there's people who live in England who don't get why. They don't like any cold drinks of any. You try asking for ice in England.
That's
Fuck me. They serve you ice with tongs. With fucking tongs. They don't have a scoop. They go like this, and they put the 2 cubes in, and then I go, "Can I have some more, please?" And then they put another one in.
They're rationing frozen water.
They fucking won the war, and they still fucking... Anyway, so you go... I always said to them, put so much ice in you think I'm insane. And they're like, all right. And they think they're putting a joke amount in, and then you're like, that's what I wanted. And there's a few things is because they're slightly cheap and they think that ice will be less for them. But it's also, it goes back, I think, to the British dental plans, the rickety teeth and the cold, it hurts me teeth. Ooh. Anyway, so but that's why they have they still have the pulled ales where you actually got a pump. You ever seen that? So you get a big handle and you actually just go pump, pump, pump. Like this is the beer. And they want that beer as warm as fuck. So what they did was, in Britain, there was the younger generation that started liking cold beers. Now, if you go to Australia and you go to a bar, the beer taps are covered in ice. We like it so cold that they've started to freeze over on the beer taps is covered in ice until the shift ends and it melts, In Britain, they have Foster's and they have Foster's super cold. And they have Guinness and they have Guinness super cold. And they have these filtration systems underneath that runs the beer through that makes it really cold before it goes through on a different tap. That would never happen in another country. Here people fucking put their mugs in fridges in Hooters, and you're not meant to do that because that puts condensation and that puts water into the beer the same way as putting ice, and it's meant to fuck around with the recipe a bit.
Oh, I never thought about
that. But I do love me a frosted glass. I love it.
Nice.
Was I right about the frosted glasses, or I was just talking out my ass right then? I heard you're not meant to have them.
I'm not a big fan of frosted glasses. But like Ryan said though, time and place.
Time and place at Hooters, I love it. But John
at
Tapper,
Hooters, that's what's
when
up.
John Tapper goes into Bar Rescue and he sees a frosted glass, he loses his shit. You're losing all the beer here. You're losing it all. You're running your business into the ground.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. Don't let anybody eat any more food. They're all gonna die.
What the?
Don't sell anything else unless you're using my POS.
Yeah, exactly. And then he always redoes the bar, and it's got like 2 bottles of whoever the sponsor is that day.
Yeah.
We have Johnny Walker Blue and Johnny Walker Red. That's all the spirits we have. And we're going to be serving this beer you've never heard of. People are going to come and they want to see this. And it's like obviously there was a season where they were sponsored by Guinness. So it was always like, we put new beer taps in. These are the best beer taps you're ever going to have. And the only 2 beers were Guinness and Harp Lager. People in Ireland don't even drink Harp Lager, which is Guinness's lager. They just sort of throw it out into the marketplace like, look, we do other things. No one gives a fuck Guinness. Make us that black stuff and fuck off.
What does a smash beer stand for? Jim didn't get this right. So what does it stand
Small amount of shitholes.
Oh shit, you got it right.
A small amount of shit.
Oh, fuck, you got it right.
No, it actually stands for single malt and single hop. So basically, you use only one type of malt and only one hop, and make a beer with it. So there's different types of malts. So if one of them is called like Golden Promise, for example, you could use Golden Promise, and you can use that exclusively as like the grain to make the liquid itself, and then for the hop, you use like just Citra or just Simcoe or one type of hop. And the beer that you get from that is a smash beer.
So how, with all these different hops and it being, and I assume this is for many food products, but how for hundreds of years, whether it's 100 or 100, how for a couple of 100 years has Heineken been making the beer that tastes exactly the same every single time when we have so many variables in these recipes?
There's obviously with all these beers being made with natural ingredients that they're grown in different climates. This could be a hot year, it could be a wet year, it could have been more rain, it could have been less rain. There's definitely variables in the ingredients. I can't vouch for Heineken, but I've been on the Anheuser-Busch tour, and like they tout that it's Beechwood aged. And one of the things I learned on that tour is not because Beechwood adds anything to it, but it's because it actually strips flavor and its consistency. It's kind of in the same vein as to why all of Starbucks coffee tastes burnt to me. Yeah. And it's because they roast it so it all tastes the same.
Yeah. I never thought about that, but on the commercial it does say Beechwood, and it sounds good. You're like, Beechwood.
It sounds good, yeah, but it's actually it's done that to kind of strip some of that flavor.
I like the beach.
For consistency.
Yeah. I would also say that the companies we were talking about are fucking richer than God. So they have access to equipment that, like brewers on our level would imagine they exist. But I also believe that they are just making so much product, and they are getting so much grain at once, and they're getting so much of a hop at once. It kind of reminds me, I was in Buffalo, New York last year, and this lady drove her car into Niagara Falls, and it was sitting at the edge, and it ultimately went over. And I was telling my dad, holy shit, like this car exploded on the rocks. Like think about all the engine
you
fluid
just
and
saw
oil
a car go into Niagara Falls and
Dude,
you fluffed
we
over
missed it by
this
a
story?
couple,
Wait,
we
it
missed
went
it by a
over?
couple hours.
It went
This was
over?
crazy. This lady you can look it up on YouTube. Don't do it fucking now. It's psychotic. This lady tried to kill herself, so she drove her car in at the edge of the falls, and it got stuck on these rocks at the very edge, and she couldn't get out, and she died in the freezing water. And we saw them airlift her out. It was fucking crazy. It was the craziest day to go to Niagara Falls ever, right?
It was like maybe they should put a fence around.
What, crazier than that day when that kid jumped off and Superman saved him?
Nah, yeah, I would say so. But in talking to my dad about it, I'm like, dude, this car went over the edge of the falls. Like, isn't that fucking crazy? Like, think about all the engine fluid and oil and everything that leaches into the water. And he's like, dude, I think you're underestimating how much water goes over the falls, that it just gets blended out. So I think that analogy to your question about inconsistency of product, I think that when you're processing so much, that you can throw in some shitty product and no one's going to notice because they're operating on a level that we cannot even fathom. I guess we can, because I've been to the same tour over in St. Louis. The tanks are big. I live in a 3-story townhouse. The tanks are way bigger than my house.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane to be in that room. You feel
I play. This is a bit of a name drop, but I played car soccer with Jay Leno and Jay Leno's show. I don't know if it's aired yet, but
Yeah, when is that gonna air?
But we played soccer in like Toyota Camrys and shit. They had roll bars in there, and we had this big propane tank that was about 4 foot high. That was the soccer ball, and we just drove into each other at full pelt. You know what I mean? And I said to them, I said, what happens if the car catches on fire? Because I was really strapped into this thing. The doors are all welded shut, and they're like, why would the car catch on fire? And I go, because we're smashing into each other. And they go, you've watched a lot of movies, haven't you? And I go, I guess I have. I still don't know why it doesn't catch on fire.
It doesn't happen. So that doesn't happen?
No. It turns out that like when you just shoot a car, it doesn't blow up either.
Dinner party fact.
Yeah.
What qualifies something as a craft beer? Just throw a slice of orange in it?
Yeah.
Smaller breweries, basically. Smaller independent-owned breweries.
Yeah, you did say that too, Jim.
There's been, Jim definitely got that one. Then there is a little bit of a sliding scale as far as what the number, like basically like breweries that produce less than, was it 200,000, something like that. It was like a certain number, and then I think Sam Adams crossed that number, so then they made the number bigger to include Sam Adams in that. But essentially, the by and large definition is essentially independently owned. Not, the owners cannot be part of a large, beer conglomerate such as Anheuser-Busch or Molson Coors or anything like that. But yeah, just independently owned. It's pretty much what. Yeah,
so what do you reckon the best way to drink beer? Tap, bottle, can?
Shotgun.
Yeah.
Shotgun it.
Yeah.
I've been seeing this thing online, and it makes
I like
sense
them
to
from
me.
the tap. I like tap
It makes
beer.
sense to
Yeah,
me
same.
about how you should pour it out and let the foam, let it kind of foam up, because then it doesn't do that in your stomach. And that
Definitely.
I've been doing that, and when I have a beer and it makes sense to me, and it's made me feel less full.
Okay, do you know,
wow.
I was a bartender in London. I was a bartender in Australia as well, but what's a lager top?
What's a what?
A lager top. If someone orders a lager top, what's that?
Lager top.
Not familiar.
A lager
I have
top.
no idea.
This is a British thing. They spray what they call lemonade, but a bit of Sprite in the top, just a little bit, and they go, yeah, a bit easier on the tummy, isn't it? Put a bit. They have a little. You put a dash of lemon,
Interesting.
dash of Sprite in the top of it. What's a shandy?
Yeah, so
Pretty much that.
A shandy.
Yeah, right.
Shandy's half and half. Yeah, shandy's half.
right.
Stuff and all that stuff.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's a real. They ordered them on the regular. This was like, I'll have a lager top, and that was like a common thing, and I'd never fucking heard of it all. But the Brits.
Yeah, I hadn't either. We're gonna start doing that at the brewery this week, and we'll call it the Jim special.
Nice.
You ever had a snake bite?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I can't remember. Snake bite is, I believe, a half lager or half stout, half lager, half strongbow, half cider, and then black currant cordial dashed in there, so it's all red.
Cider and lager.
Yeah, cider lager and a bit of black currant cordial. You can smash those puppies all day. You'll
Wow.
get fucking blind, and they drink like a Coke.
Damn, so I actually did look that number up because we were surprised by this before. So to be considered craft, a brewery must produce less than 6 million barrels per year. It's good we can skip ahead because that was a question. How much is a brewing barrel of beer? A barrel is 31 gallons. So for a brewery to be craft, they need to produce 6 million times 31. So I mean, do that math. Like,
So you guys are going to be craft for a while before you reach
For
this-
sure.
until the end of time.
Okay, all right, good.
It's not
So
just psychotic.
sorry, IPA, India Pale Ale. You were up
Yeah,
to
I
get
remember that after the fact. after
Malt
someone
liquor.
told to me.
Jim did not know what malt liquor is. I've
So-
drank it. I don't really know.
You've
what
never
it is.
played Edward 40 Hands?
Yeah,
No, I don't know what that is.
40-ounce.
It's where you tape
Again, wrap.
40-ounce malt liquor to your hands, and you
I've done
have
jokes
to
with
drink it
fucking
before you
Americans.
can ever go to the bathroom.
Bloody Americans and your drinking games.
We love
just
binge
get
drinking.
fucked. They just drink though. The rest of the world is just getting hammered, and you guys are going, "Let's make a game of it." And
like to
you're
be
beer
entertained.
ponging, and you're doing all this type of stuff. And
Oh, come on, beer pong's good.
I've never played
What?
a game of beer pong in my life.
Well, we can play with.
I
not beer.
get the gist of the game.
fun.
I've seen it. I reckon you should be able to bounce the ball, but the fact that you have to just
We'll play it at the Halloween party.
yeah,
You'll be there.
I'll be there. But I've never alcohol gamed. We used to play a game called Goon of Fortune, was a thing that we played as kids, where we get cask wine, like a bladder of wine, which we call a bag of goon in Australia, and so the cheap wine. Then you get it on the clothesline and you pin it on, and then you all stand underneath it. Then you spin the clothesline around, the hills hoist around. You wait till it gets to you, and then you have to scull from the bladder of goon. But that was really a thing you did when you were 14.
Wait, I would do that now. That sounds pretty good.
Oh, it is fun. It's Goon of Fortune.
Malt liquor though.
Yeah, malt liquor. It's fermented instead of distilled. High gravity beer, high alcohol beer.
Yeah, we used to drink that a lot when I was a kid. And then we talked about hop swap, but the noble hops we didn't get to. It's not when you hop around on one leg and say "my lady."
No, noble hops are effectively like the traditional German, Belgian hops, like hops that were kind of used more for floral, as opposed to like these, the new hops that people are going for, as Ryan kind of touched on earlier, was like these hops that lend fruity tropical notes and aromas and flavors. Whereas the noble hops are these hops that they use traditionally for pilsners and lagers, in Europe. Those are considered noble hops.
So what was the oldest beer company? I think I might have gotten close, but what's the oldest beer company?
There was two. There's the oldest brewing company in the United States and the oldest in the world.
Okay, what's
you
those
said
two?
PBR in the United States. I don't know.
Oldest in the U.S. is Yingling, so you nailed that.
Nice.
But Pabst Blue Ribbon's right, close, right? It was like a year
PBR
later.
is PBR is up there too.
I only
PBR
remember
is
that
up there
because I think
too.
it's on the label of Yingling.
I still support, even in my sobriety, the good people at Pabst Blue Ribbon, because they brought out a high seltzer. And so I drink their weed beverages. Thanks, Pabst and all the Blue Ribbon people.
And
those are great.
Yeah.
and then the oldest one in the world,
Weihenstephaner.
Yeah, Weihenstephaner.
Weihenstephaner.
Okay, how old?
Where is that?
Germany.
Germany.
How
Germany?
how
Yeah.
old is it? How old is that beer?
Let's see when they.
Yeah,
opened.
if
That's
only we
actually
had a
good
way to
question.
find out. Find out how old Stella is as well, because I think Stella's super old.
Weihenstephaner was founded in 1040.
1040,
Wow.
okay.
That's pretty
1040's old. Yeah, 1040's
So
old.
it's a little older than Stella.
Yeah, Stella's 600 years old.
Freising, Germany.
All right, well, 600 years, no, they're no slouch.
1366.
What's
Wow.
Stella Artois' nickname in Great Britain?
Stelly.
Stelly.
Wife beater.
Oh,
What?
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
It's meant to anger the blood a bit, Stella Artois, for some reason. I think that they're just blaming something else.
Yeah,
I had some
Yeah.
Stellas. What was I meant to do?
What is the name of the foam on the top of fermenting beer? Jim said the yield.
Go for it, Ryan.
Called Kreuzen.
Kreuzen.
The Kreuzen. That's
So what is-
that's a difficult one.
Is that
Yeah, so what
disgusting?
it is essentially, it's just the yeast that's kind of like floated to the top, and it's kind of doing its thing, and it's commonly referred to as top cropping yeast.
And you
So
get
it's
that
yeast
out
that's
with one of those
fermenting.
pull scoops, do you?
No. So what happens is in the process, after the yeast is done fermenting, they lower the temperature in the tank, and what that does is that causes all of that krausen to fall to the bottom, and then there's a valve on the bottom of the tank that they open up, then they just let it dump out until it runs clear.
Okay, and then how many breweries are in the United States? Do we know this? Jim said 500. It seems like
500.
5 million. Seems like there's
A
lot.
little more than 500.
What is it? It's like 8,500.
It's a little over 8,700 by last count.
That are actual businesses? 8,500. So there's 8,500 different beer companies I can drink that I can go to the liquor store and buy.
Nah, I don't-
Well, a liquor store somewhere.
I mean,
Liquor store somewhere, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like for example, the beers that like Ryan's brewery brews isn't sold in Chicago. So
What did
unfortunately,
you do, Ryan? What did you do? Why is it
You
not
just-
sold in Chicago?
They're too cool for Chicago.
Oh,
they don't
yeah,
know if they'd
yeah,
like
Chicago.
that. No, I
They
would
go
never say that.
bloody
That's my favorite
hippies
place.
with their flower beers. They're not fucking coming into Chicago. You could probably sell in Indiana. You probably do a booming business in Gary.
if you put a couple guns on that label, then they'll bring them into Chicago.
Yeah,
bringing them into
that's
Chicago.
what part of your big battle, isn't it? The label. The label is what draws people in. It's like
Just
that,
like
They
wine.
are, but I mean, these are
these are
great.
These are awesome.
Oh,
These are
cute.
fun. Yeah. Oh,
that's right. Yeah.
Kids are like that.
The one I had before.
Oh, yeah, that's the
Yeah,
teenagers.
kids,
You got them all. You got 'em all.
Teenagers to toddlers.
But that's why like this, like when they put out Liquid Death, that the water
right.
that comes in cans that looks like it's a
the
beer.
skulls, yeah.
With the skulls and that sort of stuff. My wife, who was actually just walked into the room, hello. My wife, who was pregnant at the time when Liquid Death came out, and she's a very environmentally friendly person, my wife, and she doesn't like drinking out of plastic, so it's all glass or cans or whatever. So I bought cases and cases of Liquid Death, and she really did just look like a pregnant woman who didn't give a fuck. She was just walking around with this beer can in her hand, just like answering the door, and not many people knew about that stuff yet. She's like,
I was on Zoom meetings, and people are like, "What are you drinking?" I'm like, "It's water."
It's good though for people that are sober. They can go to social events and still feel like, it's like there is some judgment when you're not drinking.
Well, that's why I like the high drinks. But another problem with being sober is, so in a day, even if you're just going a bit crazy, you wouldn't have more than 2 Coca-Colas. You might have 2 cans of Coke if you're going a bit crazy, right? But when you go out and you give up drinking and it goes like this, you go, well, I'll just have a Coke. And then the next cunt buys you a Coke and you're like, I really just needed 1 Coke this evening. And then another person buys you a Coke and it's like, okay, great, I'm sober, but I got fucking diabetes now. I don't want, you people are all drinking to get fucked up. Don't act like you're drinking for any other reason. I'm not going rounds with you with my basic drink.
No, I mean, hop water is exploding right now. It's 0.0%. So, I mean, it's not even slightly non-alcoholic. So I have some coming into the brewery next week. It's made by a place in Colorado. But yeah, it's all local hops that they're bringing in, super fresh. They're doing these double dry hop waters that when you pour it into a glass, it's fizzy yellow, looks like a beer. So, I mean, it's going to be huge again.
Well, I drink
the
Heineken.
Perception,
Heineken Zero, and it's pretty good. It's not, it doesn't taste quite
not bad,
right. It's pretty good. And I heard that's because no alcoholic beers used to taste like ass about 10 years ago. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard what happened was they used to synthetically try to make the beer taste and try to get it done. But now they actually make the beer, then they burn off the alcohol. And that's why they're not completely alcohol free. They're 0.2. You'd have to have a fucking 300 of them to feel a buzz. But it's so now they taste. And so there are some alcoholics that are like, no, it's still got alcohol in it, but it is so minimal. It's the same as eating your grandmother's fucking Christmas cake.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, people are realizing that they don't want shit that's made with extracts, natural flavorings and all this stuff. And so these de-alkalizers, like we had talked about before, like Heineken can make a product that rips because they got the money for the machine,
Well, they all seem to have one now. They all seem, every brand seems to have churned one out.
What is the most common style of beer brewed by the big breweries? Jim said lagers.
That's correct.
Lagers.
Yep.
Yeah, all day.
10 out of 10.
All day.
In the warehouses.
And then we were talking about Gross Lager with the pop tops, and then we're talking about like I'm trying to think of other Beck's with the foil on the top and all that sort of stuff. Aren't those things a fucking pain in the ass to make? Or is that just
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like they go, we're going to put foil on the top of each one, or do they just see that as their brand and all that type of stuff? Or is that easy?
I mean, these days, if you have a business that you have a need, there is a company that will create a machine for you. So I have a friend, he has a meadery in Arizona that they did swing tops, and their staff, as they were coming off the bottling line, was having to swing each one. And he said the blisters on their thumbs, it's like an 80s kid, arcade fingers. So he reached out to a couple companies that they make packaging machines. And he says, I need a machine that closes a swing top lid, puts a plastic seal, and applies heat to it. And somebody made the machine for him. So, as long as you have the need these days, you can pretty much get whatever you want, which is pretty cool.
What is a phenolic taste in a finished beer? Phenolic?
Yeah, phenolic. Yeah, phenols. I mean, phenols don't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It most certainly can be, but it really depends on like the kind of beer that you're having. So right now, like I'm having a Saison. Phenols in Saisons, I mean like bubblegum, pepper, spice, like anything that's going to, in a lager type setting, like if you're noticing these beers that have these flavors, it's going to be completely off. But phenol, it's a typically naturally occurring from the yeast. But if you're not making beer in a clean environment, say a bathtub, you're more likely to end up with these other flavors.
Okay, and yet can yeast survive and continue to ferment in environments like as high as 15% alcohol by volume? Jim said it
Oh
can.
God, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
And so is that bad?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it's very hard work. Like there's obviously you need to select a very specific yeast strain, but then you need to make sure that that yeast is healthy and can survive in what is a harsh environment for that yeast, 15% and up alcohol. Actually fun story. The brewery that one of the breweries that Ryan used to work for makes a beer that, ranges anywhere from 19 to 22% alcohol.
Holy shit.
And that beer is the beer that when I first started brewing, set out to try to make myself at home. Spoiler alert, I still have not made that beer. However, that beer is what got me into brewing in the first place. So Ryan is my hero for that. But yeah, the answer is yes. Jim was correct. They can survive, but it's yeast is a living thing, so you need to keep it healthy and make sure that it has oxygen. Make sure it has nutrients, vitamins. Just what is effectively vitamins are nutrients and everything it needs to survive and be healthy.
So vitamins, nutrients. I always find it fascinating when something is like alcohol or something that is deemed mostly bad for our health. You know what I mean? What is the benefits of beer? What goodness can an alcoholic say to themselves they're getting in?
An alcoholic.
Alcoholic, yeah. I'm like, well, fuck. I
mean-
was following until you said alcoholic.
No. You know what I mean? Like some guy at the end of the bar that's like this. Well, at least I'm getting my blah 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 in.
Your bread.
Yeah, because I've heard that Guinness has like a whole heap of amino acids and is right up there. Like you can
Protein and
they used to so much iron in it that they used to give women right up until the 80s in Ireland. As soon as they gave birth, they would hand them a Guinness. And that was meant to give you back all your iron and the nutrients that you lost in the placenta, because that was something. Plus, they're Irish and they're just, you did a good job, and you know what I mean. But so they used to do that in the hospitals with Guinness. So what is like a thing where you go, because you talk about wine. Red wine has actually antioxidants, and if you drink a couple of glasses every week, that's good for you. Is there redeeming features of beer for your health?
I mean.
Go.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, they are not substitutes for actual vitamins and actual minerals. But that being said, though, like for example, sour beers can have lactobacillus and cultures that are found in kombucha, for example, that can improve gut health.
Right.
In that regard. I mean,
Beers
do have.
Beers. I've seen that.
Yeah, there's that too. But like, yes, sour beers can have those cultures which are good for your gut health. They obviously do contain proteins. They do contain carbohydrates, which obviously give you energy. Also get you drunk. The alcohol gets you drunk anyway. But
You could make an argument for mental health.
I just had a
Unless people are abusing it, but when you get to share a beer with friends and makes you happy.
You
and
can
all
say
that
the same
stuff.
thing about heroin, though.
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
There's a community.
It's not good for my mental health.
There's
right
a good
now.
community feel about heroin as you
It's a
share the
slippery
needle.
slope.
Yeah, you get a lot of sleep.
I tell you, I was in. Now this might sound a bit bad, but I was in, and Andrew Wontok did it, but I didn't do it. I just said I was feeling not well. But I was in one of the townships in South Africa, which is like the small, the slum areas where they have the small little houses.
Just outside of Cape Town.
Just outside of Cape Town. We were doing a field piece there. Not many people walk through the townships, but we went there for a field piece on the TV show. And there was a guy who basically did these slum tours. He's a nice fella, but he was making money. He'd walk people around and say, "This is our nightclub. This is our thing. This is the toilet." So he took me to the bar, and he goes, "Here in South Africa, right?" He goes, we all share." And they were drinking out of a can that was like this. It was
a bucket.
It was a bucket that they'd fucking fermented beer in, and they were handing it around all the blokes in the township to drink from the edge. And I was like, no.
The backwash.
Oh, I got some great photos of
Andrew
that
did
moment.
And then I said, but I have a friend who is feeling a lot better who will do it.
Our producer.
Yeah, he fucking did it. Yeah, too right, he did.
Trappist beers must be brewed on the grounds of what? Jim said Harlem just because I said rap, but I don't know if that's right.
Monastery.
Monastery. I've had
Trappist is my favorite beer of all time.
I have a
Oh my
beer.
gosh.
I have a beer
Yeah.
whenever I'm in Europe. We have a friend called Brewing.
He's your promoter.
Yeah, Brewing.
Your European promoter.
Brewing
in
is
Sweden.
from Sweden.
Yeah.
Brewing's a very nice fella. Brewing tours me around Europe, and he comes on all the trips.
at the end of the tour.
And at the end of the tour, he gives me a beer every time. And I think the beer's like $150 a bottle or something like that. But it's from a monastery, and they only create one batch of it every year, and there's only like 1,000 bottles on Earth.
We always have it in Sweden because he's got to go to his house
and
to
then
get
he goes,
it.
"Here is the special monastery beer as a thank you for the trip, and we will drink it together." And I'm like, "All right." So I have my monastery beer every time. And he goes, the monks can't even talk to each other. Yeah. How do they know they're not fucking it up then?
They just focus. Is it Rochefort? Is that how it's pronounced? The Trappist Rochefort 10? Okay, that's my favorite beer. It's 13%, delicious.
And then the beer brewed with more honey than grain is not called Winnie the Pooh. I don't think.
No, it is not called Winnie the Pooh. That is called a braggot. So it
Holy
is,
shit, dude! Can't talk like that.
Whoa.
I really wanted to let him take that one. I feel so
I
fucking
know.
uncomfortable saying that word in 2022 in California.
What, braggot?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it rhymes.
Because it sounds
with
a lot like a
slur.
different word. That
Oh,
we're
it rhymes with a different word. Oh,
Everyone's triggered and then
Maggot.
half paying attention in public. They're like, "Wait, what'd you
Tag
say?" It's
it.
like,
Yeah, so there's no. So this came up actually when you were initially asked the question. There's no actual honey production unless you want there to be. No honey content in most beers, but if you do, you can add honey for sweetness, for additional alcohol because it does ferment out. If you wanted to do that, but if it's over 51% honey, so if it's like 51% honey, 49% grain, because honey is sugar, so it will ferment just like that grain will. If it's over 51%, it's no longer considered a beer; it's considered a braggot.
I'll tell you what.
like tequila.
I'll tell you
Same
what
thing.
beers can fuck off, right? And it's always someone has brought them over to your house for Christmas, and they're sort of sitting there, and you have one, right? It's any time they infuse a bit of chocolate into it. Fuck those beers.
Yeah.
Fuck that, like a chocolatey stout, and it's like I don't mind if it has chocolate overtones, but you make it like a ugh. No, it's not worth.
well, I mean, like that's where the artistic component comes in. Is like, how do you derive those flavors from malt without adding fucking candy bars to it?
Although I would have a Snickers,
Anybody can dump
Snickers
chocolate
beer
in a
all
beer.
fucking day, man. You got a Snickers beer, put a few. Do they ever put nuts in there? Put a bit of nuts. Yeah, nuts would be good with a beer.
Twizzlers.
Generally speaking, a session beer needs to be low in what? You said alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yeah, got a point. In the brewing process, the fermentation step turns sugar into alcohol, and what else?
Not yellow 6, as Jim mentioned. It's carbon dioxide. So if you ever
the
go to a brewery, you
bubbles.
see usually a bucket or on the floor or next or hanging from a tank that's bubbling. That is CO2, carbon dioxide, that's being emitted from the fermentation process. And actually, in some breweries, they actually they allow, rather than letting it dump out into a bucket like a lot of breweries do, they actually trap that in the actual tank, and that's what naturally will carbonate a beer in some instances.
Okay.
Actually, what's really interesting about that, so every brewery obviously has like a bulk CO2 tank. And so CO2, where most breweries get it, it is a byproduct of fermentation from soil, with COVID, that is why there is this CO2 shortage that you've heard about, why prices are through the roof. But with there being less people out working, less farming, that is where the CO2, it gets trapped naturally, those greenhouse gases, packaged and then sold back to us. So it's a crazy business model if you think about that too.
All right, just quickly around the room, starting with Jack, going to Kelly, going to Forrest, going to me, and then going to you guys. Name your number one mass-produced beer company where you go, that's the one that if I go into the store, I'm buying that 12-pack in the cardboard box. What's your number one, Jack?
I will go Modelo.
Modelo. That's still kind of fancy. Yeah, Modelo. All right. Kelly B?
I would probably go Stella or Heineken.
Stella, well, you have to pick one.
I'm going to go Stella.
Yep, Stella.
Mass produced. I drink Corona all the time because I always drink
I like
tequila.
Corona, too.
And if I'm doing a shot,
I like
do it.
Corona. Corona gets a bad rap. I like Mexican beers.
If I need to chase, if I'm doing a shot, I usually just sip tequila. But if I'm drinking shit, just Corona. Yeah.
I'm going Heineken. And you lads?
High life.
Easy. Sierra Nevada. You said mass produced. You did not have to say that it couldn't still be craft. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I mean, you can get it almost everywhere, and it is still one of the beers that got me into this industry, and it's still just as special as it was the first time I had it.
Good answer.
And when was your first beer? Do you remember your first beer? I think I gave Jack his.
Definitely my first Heineken. Yeah.
I think Jack had never had a Heineken. It was like sitting down with your dad.
I only could finish half.
Don't drink it. Don't put it straight back. Don't put your mouth around the entire hole. You've done it. Okay.
No deep throat.
Yeah.
Just remember sipping some beers with pops. My dad used to homebrew a little bit, so that kind of sparked an interest early on. But remember, like really, really getting into beers when I was in high school, just using a buddy's ID. Actually, the first time I went to the brewery where I used to work was with a fake ID on a date with a girl, and I was like trying to impress her and hated the fucking beers, and then ended up working there for almost 6 years later. So round and round we go.
I was one of the most pretentious little 15-year-old you've ever met. And I'd be like, I'd go up to parties, I'd score some beers, I'd have some Tuies, Australian Tuies dry, which I like, right? And I'd have them there, and I'd be like, you're drinking 4X? It's not a very good beer. Like 15, like this. Not very good. This has got more of a crisper, say the word crisp a lot, drier taste. I was a wanker.
I had old English malt liquor. That was my shit.
Let's go.
Okay, so which ingredient is malted at the beginning of the brewing process? Is that barley?
Barley.
You got that right, Jim. You did better than you think. Yeah. And then the final step in beer production, is it putting it into the bottles?
Man, we like really went back and forth on this one because I think this is pretty confusing. The final step in beer production, even when you're fucking canning beer. So, I mean, like the answer could be filtering. It could be packaging. So putting into bottles, capping, whatever. I mean, as a step in beer production, you're definitely pulling one off the line and drinking it. So, I mean, like what is the final step, putting it in the cold box to sell it? Like there's so many different answers. So I had to give you full credit on that one. But I would say the final step in beer production is filtered if you're going to filter it, and then move to packaging. So
I got a job very briefly. I never actually had the job, but my job was going to be, I was going to work for Budweiser during it would be the 2002 World Cup, right? And I was going to have to put all the bunting up around bars because Budweiser always is involved with the World Cup, right? So they'd give me a smart car that was just looked like a beer can that I'd drive down the street. I'd go there, I'd put the display, which I would have been terrible at this job because I can't make anything look nice. But I had to go there and be funny or whatever in the job application. Anyway, the next step was before you could work for Budweiser, and it was like £30,000 a year in a car. It sounded pretty good to me. And the next step before I could work for Budweiser, that Budweiser made me get a drug test where they took a hair follicle and to see. Now, I had taken ecstasy like the day before. There was no way I was going to pass this fucking thing. Right? But, you go in, you're like, let's have a go. Let's see. I did not. They found loads of shit. I got fired 7 times.
Could have been drunk when you walked in there, bro. What causes skunked beer? Is it aeration?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, oxygen. Oxygen, sunlight, oxygen. I mean, clear bottles. That's why some breweries prefer that kind of skunky flavor. So like a Corona, for example, like that flavor that makes it so unique is skunking. And I mean, a little bit of it is acceptable in certain beer styles, but yeah, more often than not, it is just a result of light or oxygen.
How long should a beer last if you buy it from the store and keep it in your house? Because, like, you ever heard of VB from Australia? It's the number one drunken beer in Australia, Victoria Bitter.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Victoria Bitter. And so VB, they reckon there's enough chemicals in VB that it will outlast the cockroaches in the nuclear holocaust. You know what I mean? Like, so,
Sure.
So how long should a beer last? Because they have use-by dates on them somewhere.
Yeah. Sure. There's a lot of variables that go into that. Not only, obviously you just mentioned loads of chemicals in VB. That obviously plays a part for their benefit. However, IPAs have a little bit shorter shelf life than a Budweiser, for example, because those hops are very volatile compounds which break down over time. Also, too, if you keep that beer on your counter versus in your refrigerator, that also plays a part. Keeping it in the fridge will extend its shelf life. but there's a lot of variables. So, I mean, easy answer, IPAs, I would say, right around 3 to 6 months, around there. Whereas a Miller Lite, a Bud Light could, last up to a year maybe. But
Oh wow, I'm drinking some old ass beers.
Yeah.
Man.
same.
I have some in my cupboard that have definitely been there since before I gave up alcohol. So, and I give them to guests when they come over, and I haven't had a drink for a year and a half.
I was still in my grandfather's garage. That might have been there for years. But okay, last
I
question.
feel like with just butt in real quick. I feel like something that people can look forward to with those answers, with those timelines being much longer. The timeline that I'm looking for my beer is ideally 6 weeks, 9 weeks, and that beer will be completely sold out and on to the next. So and considering just pulling it off the shelves.
Do you believe beer drunk is different than liquor drunk? I always believed that beer drunk had a different vibe.
Jolly,
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's jolly.
some jolly shit.
Yeah, it's there's not a lot of dancing with the beer drunk. There's a lot of sitting down.
Yeah,
A lot of laboured movements.
yeah, right.
Behind that.
Yeah, a lot of bread.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? I just had 26 slices of bread, metaphorically.
So last question, what is geese? Where does it come from?
Man, Ricky, you want to?
So it comes from Belgium. It's historically from Belgium, and what it is, this is a pretty complex answer actually, because there is a Belgian style of beer called lambic, which is typically sour. It's not always sour, but it's essentially brewed with yeast. That's yeast and bacteria, which kind of bring out different flavors. And Geese or goose or goza, however you choose to pronounce it, is typically a blend of lambics that have been aged from 2 years, 1 year, and they blend old lambic with young lambic. It's a pretty involved process, and it's a very unique style of beer.
Are you goza? Because I am Zul.
It's I love that gatekeeper. It's a beer that is typically inoculated with wild yeast and bacteria found in the Belgian countryside, and so it's very much a beer of the seasons, and so it's very near and dear to Belgian tradition. But yeah, like you said, it's a blend of 1, 2, and 3-year-old golden sour beers, very lightly soured with.
You go into bars in Belgium.
That's the best beer I've ever had.
It's very good, but fuck me, there's literally some bars that have 300 beers in them.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I
don't know what to pick now.
When we went to Antwerp, we went to like that jazz bar thing the promoter took us to, and she just kept saying, order that, order that, order that. And I'm not even a huge beer guy, and every single beer I had was the best beer I ever had. And we were in Antwerp, like just in some bar, and it was fucking amazing. Like that made me love beer. Like again, like in Belgium, there it was like
we actually got invited as like I said, like a 10-week-old brewery. We got invited to a Belgian beer festival in Antwerp. They are paying for our plane tickets, for the beer, for the hotel.
Oh,
it's like an
awesome.
all expenses paid trip. So
Congrats.
I'm going to be in Antwerp second week in November.
Oh man, enjoy
if you
it.
send it
Have you ever
over.
been?
And
Never been.
the honor that the Belgians are asking Americans to come over, because that's one of the places where it's looked
You've no
down.
idea.
Americans, they're a bit snobby about the whole thing.
And it's
Good
so
for
cool
you.
too, because it's like all the old building. You just walk around and see. It's really cool. Yeah. All right, cool. Here's
Good chocolate, man.
Here's a part of our show called Dinner Party Facts. We ask our experts to give us some sort of obscure, interesting fact that our listeners can use to impress people. We'll start with Ricky. What do you got for us?
So fun fact, Corona, which is actually the best-selling non-domestic beer in the U.S., was it U.S., U.K., and Canada, I believe, was originally brewed to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Modelo, which is its parent company. Fun fact.
Nice.
Well, is it true? Is it true that they put the limes on there for sanitation reasons? Because I love a lime in Mexican beer and all that type of stuff. But I heard that it was to keep flies away, or the bottles hadn't been sterilized enough, and the citrus would actually help. I heard that it was a sanitationary thing to begin with.
I'm not so sure that's true. I mean, any sanitation is pretty much at the core of any halfway reputable brewery, including Modelo or Corona, which is actually nowadays it's actually owned by Anheuser-Busch, so which is the largest.
Well, I'm not saying Corona as such. I'm just saying Mexican beers historically all have the limes, and then they've just picked up and run with it. But maybe that was just a bit of mild racism I heard.
It might be.
And I know who told us that too.
One thing
Who told us?
I won't say it right now. I'll say it afterwards.
Yeah, we got a friend who told us.
Yeah.
Is it who I think it is?
I don't know who you're thinking.
Yeah, we know who it is.
Yeah, we know who it is. Okay. Yeah, it was mild racism. Sorry about that, everyone.
Hey, I've heard it too.
No, but like any brewery, I mean, if you don't have sanitized bottles, you're gonna get sour Corona essentially. So or sour Modelo. So it's not you don't want that. So I think it might be some mild racism, but but it tastes delicious.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan. I was one of the first bars I ever walked into with a fake ID, and I was like 16 or something like that. And I walked up and went, I'll have, what will I have? I'll have a couple of Coronas, please. Then it came, and the guy had the lime in it. No, I'd never fucking had a Corona like this, right? And then I sort of didn't know whether I was meant to squeeze it in the top or put my thumb in. I was looking around, and he goes, you know how to drink that, right? I go, yeah, of course. He goes, yeah, you got to put it in, you put your thumb over and then shake it 2 times, right? And I'm like, okay. And I, in my face. And I'm 16, I just sat there and just drank this foamy half a beer.
That's how I like it.
I think he checked my ID afterwards and kicked me out. So all I got was half a beer on my face and half a beer on my belly and fucking kicked out, and they all got a laugh.
I love that.
What do you got for us, Ryan?
Yeah, I feel like big beer is like the most relatable and the most fun to talk about at a dinner table. So a couple cool fun facts about Anheuser-Busch. I couldn't really pick one. They pasteurized their product before milk was pasteurized in America. That is fucking crazy. It was also the first to be moved via rail car. Sick. Anheuser-Busch as a company employs more people than the entire craft beer segment of America. Last count, we as small independent breweries were around 130,000, and they employ between brewing, distribution, all of that, 150,000 people. So they are still fucking massive.
Not after that drug test I had to do.
149,999.
They do. Because there's so much driving, forklifts, all that kind of stuff. And then the one that I think is really cool is everybody knows the game Root Beer Tapper, but Anheuser-Busch had originally reached out to Bally Hotels when they were making arcade games to have a bartending simulator video game. So Root Beer Tapper was actually originally just called Tapper. It was a Budweiser game that they ended up repurposing and throwing out into arcades as a Root Beer Tapper. So that's pretty fun. A game that a lot of kids play. Have a lot of basis in bartending. And even though all the shit is fun, I mean, this company is fucking atrocious. They are actively trying to squash us and every other brewery of mine and Ricky's size. So support your local brewery. Let's go.
Yeah, go support the smaller ones until they get too big, and then crush them as well.
Crush them too. Yeah, to get them out of the way.
But that's a thing. Like the Guinness Book of Records is made by Guinness, and it was to solve bar fights, right?
Right.
Bar arguments.
Well, okay. Well, speaking of
I reckon the person who could wear the most plates on their head is probably a guy from Italy. They got flat heads over there.
Well, speaking of that, go visit Ryan at the Everywhere Brewery in Orange, California. You can find information about them, everywherebeer.com, or on Instagram at everywherebeerco. And Ricky, check him out at the foreignexchangebrewing.com and on Instagram at foreignexchangebrewing. Guys, thank you so much for being here. That was pretty awesome.
Lads, thank you so much for being on the show. If you're ever at a party and someone comes up to you and goes, hop, pop, pop, me lady, go, I don't know about that, and walk away.
Me lady.
You're not Australian.